Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me and see me. Despite some technical challenges, blink twice if everything is okay. We are doing our webinar on, thanks for thumbs up. We're doing our webinar on Copilot Extensibility today, which is actually the last one in our 4 webinar series. So we had one on prompt engineering with James, one with the driving ROI. We explained the different copilots with the Microsoft ecosystem. And today we will be talking about the extensibility. As we go, if you have any questions, as usual, drop them into Q&A. One thing which is slightly different maybe from the previous webinars I would like to ask you today, let's try to make it more engaging. And if you have not just a question, but if you have a use case in mind for your organization and you're thinking, okay, like whether it's suitable to apply extensibility here or maybe not, okay, and what type of extensibility could be applied, drop this into Q&A as well, and we'll try to go through all your questions and examples at the end of the session and try to see, okay, what's actually possible within the Copilot extensibility tag. Introductions. My name is Anton. I'm a technical lead at WM, and I'm looking after the architecture and development teams for the last 11 months, probably maybe even 12 months. I'm looking after the Copilot within Microsoft ecosystem. And I'm joined today by my colleague Nin.
Hi, nice to meet you all. So I'm Nin. I'm a Power Platform consultant here at WM. So I've recently sort of switched into the Power Platform world and now the WM Copilot Studio champion. So I've spent a good amount of the past 2-3 months to upskill on Copilot Studio, which has been great fun. And I'm excited to share all our knowledge here in this session here today.
Amazing. Thanks, Nin. Okay, so what we're going to cover today, this is not reflecting the structure of the slides, rather talking about the questions that we would like to get answered today. So first of all, why would you want to extend Copilot for M365 at all? Then we will spend a little bit of time on how you can extend it, not diving into a lot of details because there are quite a lot of content on YouTube by Microsoft on details like developer blogs, developer examples, samples. So quite a lot of information out there. If you need a reference, just drop us a note. We'll reach out to you later. But what we'd like to focus also today is on the Copilot Studio as a tool to extend the Copilot, and also we'd like to talk about the use case. Okay, what can you do with Copilot extensibility actually? And we'll go through use cases. As I said, we would like to make it interactive. Therefore, you will have a lot of demos, a lot of videos. We've pre-recorded them, in all honesty, yesterday, just to make sure that all the connection dropouts will not affect the quality of the presentation. So yeah, let's dive into this. Okay, so why consider extending Copilot? And when I'm saying Copilot here, I mean Copilot for Microsoft 365 in the first place. So as you know, probably from our previous webinars, how Copilot works, it actually works by grounding your prompts and grounding the LLM into the context of your data using Microsoft Graph. So Microsoft Graph has access to all the data in your tenant, but the important bit here in your tenant. So if you have your data in M365, Copilot can work with it. If it's indexed, of course, if it's not excluded from the index. But also, we know that from our experience and from like speaking with many customers, that a lot of process and a lot of data are actually sitting outside of M365. Everyone is using tools like ServiceNow or Workday, Coupa, SAP, Oracle, probably. That's a lot of tools out there. And a lot of those big vendors, they're already planning or doing their own AI assistants, their own Copilots, their own GPTs, but it also comes with a price tag because AI, the nature of AI is that it's pretty expensive to compute just on the hardware level. It's expensive to run all those calculations. And you probably don't want to pay this AI tax in Microsoft because you have M365 Copilot, and then in your another system as well, and maybe in the third system as well. So probably what you would like to do, if you are on this webinar, I assume you are a Microsoft house, you probably would like to have your single AI assistant, which can reach not just to the data in M365, but which can reach to the data outside of M365. And there are two ways how we can do this. One of them is extend the knowledge of your organization. And the second way is to extend the skills of your Copilot. Okay, so let's start with the knowledge. So when we're talking about extending the knowledge of the Copilot, the Microsoft has this mechanism of graph connectors. Graph connectors are around for, I think, at least 1 year, maybe even 2 years, maybe a year and a half. So you already have this capability to bring the data from third party into your M365 storage and get it indexed by Microsoft Search. So previously, before the Copilot, you could configure Graph Connector, bring information in, configure search vertical in your search results, and data from your external system, for example, Confluence articles, it will become available in your Microsoft Search. So today, Copilot is just plugging into the same mechanism, and let's see just a very few steps on how you are able to configure this today. So this is a very quick video. When you see we go into the admin portal, we go into the settings, search and intelligence, we go into data sources, and here we have the list of follower connections. If you don't have any, like in this example, we set up new. So one which is really easy to start is an enterprise website. But what we will do now is Azure DevOps. And you can see what I'm showing here is that there are quite a few of the existing connectors there, and you can click and find more to see the others. Okay, so we'll do Azure DevOps, we'll do the work items, or you can do the wiki. We will configure the name of the connector. So I'm connecting to the project for Spot. It's permission oversharing tool, which we developed internally. So I would like to set it up so I can see the work items as a search results. I'm configuring client ID and client secret here. I will not go into details how to do this because I can link you to the article if you want to know how, but it's pretty well described. I can just go quick publish at this stage, but I would like to show you a few things that, okay, you can index the entire Azure DevOps, so just single project. You can ignore the permissions. You can say, okay, information that is available for everyone, or you can actually respect your permissions. I will not change any alias or any fields because they're already coming predefined. I will just go and publish. And before I publish, I will say that, okay, the results will be visible in the all search results vertical. So to be completely transparent, I fast forwarded this a little bit, but in reality, it takes about maybe 5 to 10 minutes to configure if the connection is already sitting there. So it's not a huge effort. At this stage, I just want to say, so I didn't show this in a demo, but this is a list of the vendors which already developed or which are currently developing the connectors. And you see some big names we're probably using here. This is ServiceNow, this is GitLab, Adobe, this Oracle, Confluence, Jira. So most likely the enterprise tool that you're using will have the graph connector available. If it's not, then it's always a way to do a custom connector, or you can even develop one if you have a very kind of bespoke system, maybe something built in-house. For example, for us, for Reply, we have few systems which are bespoke, built to our requirements. So we will be building those connectors ourselves. So the point here is that there is a very high chance you will not have to develop the new connector because it may be just sitting there. But yeah, if you need to, you can absolutely develop a custom one. So let's see how the result looks like. So 15 minutes, fast forward in this, when the indexing is done, you see the connection state is ready. So what I'm able to do currently is go to my Office homepage and search for something like deployment improvements. And in my search results, I will see the items which actually were brought from Azure DevOps, so user story and 2 tasks, which are matching the search query. So those experience, that experience was available before Copilot, but now if I go to Copilot, because Copilot is using the same semantic indexing behind the scenes, I can ask it questions which are related to, for example, deployment improvements. And I can ask something in a natural language. What were the recently suggested deployment improvements? And it will do the search, so it's searching through the entire M365 index. But since those items are already brought into M365 index from Copilot, I will see the results provided by Copilot as an answer. Say Pavel created a user story, titled deployment improvements, and it was a task, add improvements in deployment process, and it was another task titled collect feedback and challenges from the first production deployment already created by Pavel. So, and what's neat here, we can see those references, 1, 2, and 3 here, so we know where information is coming from. So that's quite important. I will actually pause here. So you will have all your search index sitting in M365, but you still have this mechanism how to say where the result is coming from. Is it coming from my email? Is it coming from my conversation with Nin? Or maybe this result is actually coming from a graph connector. So you still can identify, despite the fact that everything is coming as a single response. And if I had conversations in email about deployment improvements, which were recently suggested, or like someone suggested me deployment improvement in Teams chat, it would also be shown here in this result. So this is kind of concluding the small introduction section on the graph connectors. You can see here we have developed no plugins. So there were no plugins involved, but it was a graph connector pulling data into M365. So that's pretty cool. But then what if you would like to ask Copilot to do something, right? Or what if your third-party system don't just have the list of knowledge articles, but you can actually do something with API. The very common thing is just fetch latest requests for new hardware, or maybe create a new request for a laptop. So if you have this API, you actually will be able to create a plugin and teach Copilot this skill so it can actually do something for you. Let's, as in this previous example, go into the very quick demo on how it could be set up. It will be a little bit of code here, but it's pretty quick. So the main point here is that the Teams toolkit in Visual Studio Code is actually providing a very good scaffolding mechanism. And you can create a basic plugin, which just does nothing literally, but okay, it fetches the NPM packages in minutes. So it will create everything for you. And if you have developers in-house, or maybe if you have consultancy who's helping you, they will be able to do this pretty quickly. So I'm creating one based on Teams message extension. I am starting with a bot. And as soon as I do this, you see how it shows that, okay, it will work in Teams, Outlook, and Copilot. I'm creating TypeScript because I'm a fan of TypeScript. Storing everything in a folder. Just put in my application name here, which is invoice and delays for the demo. And it will go and create one. So at this stage, I will flick to the different screen very soon, where I have developed this example a little bit more. But you see, just as you go, it's creating you the manifest, which is ready to go. It creates an example of the search app, which is actually fetching the data from the third-party system. So everything is here, and you can just hit F5 or debug, and it will start debugging everything in your Teams. So now I'll flick to one where I've actually developed this a little bit. So you will see I've changed my manifest. So in my manifest, I have one command, which is called find invoices overdue. I have description of a command, which is very crucial for plugins, because based on this description, Copilot will understand whether your intent was actually to fetch invoices, overdue invoices from ERP, or whether you were just doing search for invoices in your email. So this description have to be very descriptive so that Copilot orchestration engine can actually use your plugin for good when you're asking it for. So you see, I have the description found invoices that overdue. I also have this command in response provide total amount of overdue invoices. I have the semantic description field, which is currently available in preview in beta version only, but it soon will be available in ordinary schema. So it will help us help orchestrate the engine to discover plugin. And I have this argument description because I would like my users to be able to ask things in natural language. Say, give me invoices which are overdue for last week, and not always type for 7 days, or invoices that are overdue currently, or invoices that are overdue in the past month. And I would like it always convert into a number. So this is where the power of LLMs come in. And then I have my search app. This is where I'm just getting this response from search query, and I'm doing my REST API request for my CRM, which is currently in this example just a mock server. I'm giving request to my CRM. I'm having results, and I'm transforming them into an adaptive card based on JSON file. So we'll see this, the JSON file of the adaptive card and the preview. It's very simplistic. I'm pretty sure that for production cases, you will go with like finer details, include more information, but it just shows the invoice number, customer amount, due, and the due date. And this is as easy now as clicking F5 or clicking debug. Teams Toolkit doing an amazing job of scaffolding everything for you. So it will fetch all the NPM packages. It will create all the resources, start locally your server, and then open the Teams in a browser window so you can actually debug and test your application going forward. Video is frozen for me, but I hope it played till the very end for you. If not, what we'll have here is it just opens the Teams window for you, and then you will be able to test what's happening. So we will go into this, how it looks like in the next demo. But at this stage, I would like to pause just for a minute, literally, just to highlight how everything, the process, how plugins actually work from your prompt. So when you are asking question, for example, what tickets are assigned to me right now, it goes into the Copilot orchestrator engine. It searches for relevant tools, which means it picks up, it basically doing search against all your plugins catalog and is picking up the best one, which is matching your request the best. And then it's doing its reasoning. It's mapping intent to slots. It's parsing the arguments. It's executing it's calling your plugin, actually calling your code, and then the code is return result. The result is returned as an adaptive card to your Copilot engine, and then based on adaptive card, Copilot will actually create a summary for you. We will see this in the next demo, but it's very important to understand that Copilot will be able to create a summary only based on information in adaptive card that you've sent back. For example, if your API is fetching a lot of information, a lot of fields, but you only have title and description in your adaptive card, Copilot will only have access to title and description to create summary for you. It's very important to remember this when you're designing your cards, and also when you're designing your description of a command in a plugin. Okay, so let's see how can it look like for end user. So the first thing, how to test it very easily, and actually without Copilot, is actually to call a Teams message extension in your one-to-one conversation. You see this is a thumbnail card. You click on this and it provides you the big adaptive card in your message body. And this is not just for testing. I think from our experience, it's a very good way of delivering the same functionality in the undiscriminatory way, so it's available for everyone, for people with Copilot license and without Copilot license. So obviously, the users who have Copilot license assigned, they will have richer experience, but then users who don't need Copilot, but they still would like to have this capability to go and fetch your overdue invoices for last 7 days, they still can do this in Teams using this message extension here, which is quite cool because you develop once and then surface in 2 places without any additional changes. So what can I do now is that I can ask Copilot. I'm starting with please as usual. I know some people don't like to say please to AI, but I like to do. So please fetch overdue invoices for the last 15 days. And this is where Copilot is actually searching for the matching plugins, which will match my query, and it will find nothing. Okay, that's very good, because you see it says no plugins enabled. And before trying again, you should actually go and enable your plugin. So now when it is enabled and you try the same query one more time, it goes into this catalog of your plugins, you do the search, and this time, wow, success. And this time it actually presents the result back. So you will see it create a summary, and at the very top of the summary, it has the total amount of all the overdue invoices, because I've asked it to, if you remember, that we were seeing this in the description, I said include the total amount of the invoices overdue. It will create me a summary of all the overdue invoices. What we see here is actually a debug panel. I've enabled this for myself, but it will not be available for your end users. This is just for me or for your developer to be able to trace what was actually happening. For example, if you had 10 plugins, you would like to understand which plugin was called and why. So I will see the plugins enabled. I will see the functions we're matching, the function which was selected because it was matching the best, and the execution results. And you will see my adaptive card here and the summary based on my adaptive card. So now I would like to test something a little bit more interesting, say last week, not just 15 days, but week. And I expect that week will be converted to 7 days, because this is what LLM can actually do for me. And it actually did. So you see it had the different invoices, different number of invoices, still my debug panel. So again, it has my adaptive card and it has my summary. So this is a very quick demo of what's possible, and you can think already, okay, this is the overdue invoices, this is the requests which were submitted by my team, or probably this is the feedback which was recently given based on the project Unicorn, for example, if you have a system to capture feedbacks. If you have a adoption campaign going on, maybe you're tracking leaderboard, you can ask, hey, who's number one on the leaderboard today? So there's quite a few things where you can ask Copilot to fetch information for you, but then also the next step would be to ask Copilot to do something. So that's coming on the roadmap pretty soon. This is a very quick kind of visual, and I know it's maybe a little bit linear, a little bit simplistic. We're working currently on doing a very kind of comprehensive decision-making process tree. So what tool to use to develop extension, right? So first of all, ask yourself, are you a Power Platform user? Do you have Power Platform established? Or do you have your data already sitting there which you can connect to? If the answer is yes, you can go with Power Platform connectors, and we will see later today that you can use Copilot Studio to do this. If no, then you can ask yourself, okay, do you need your data to be indexed? So exactly, do you need to ask questions which are based on your data, maybe compare items here and there, something too similar to what we've seen in the example with the recently suggested deployment improvements. If you need to index your data, then the path is to develop Microsoft Graph Connector. If no, if you need a real-time interaction with the data, then it's obviously going to be a plugin. So if you have your Teams message extension built before, maybe it's already there, and maybe it's already sitting in your Teams, and you have this little icon below your input box, then you most likely have your Copilot plugin working today. It may need updating the manifest version, working on a description, but it's already should be ready to go. If you know, then you can build one using Teams Toolkit, as I've just demonstrated recently. So very straightforward. I should say here that it's not an either or question, because, for example, if we take in the case with Azure DevOps, you may want to fetch the Wiki items from Azure DevOps. You may also fetch the work items from Azure DevOps and set the incremental crawl to update them every 15 minutes. But at the same time, you may want to give your users ability to execute a complex query, or maybe ability to see items from a specific board, or maybe ability to raise a new ticket or raise a new bug for a specific functionality. And this could be a combination of Graph Connector, which is making data indexable, and of plugin, which is actually gives you ability to execute an action against the Azure DevOps. So you can have both for one system. It will not overlap. If your description of a plugin is pretty clear, Copilot will understand what to do when. Cool. And which path to choose? I'm just showing this very quickly here. You can go to develop plugin with Teams message extensions. You can go with Power Platform connectors and with Copilot Studio. You can go with conversational and AI plugins with Copilot Studio, even if you don't have connectors today. Or if you'd like to create a custom Copilot, you can go with Teams AI library, or maybe even OpenAI plugins. So it's pretty cool functionality if you'd like to develop a custom bot, a custom chatbot with AI capabilities. And we'll see some of those examples towards the end of the demo. And this is the kind of the end of the demo of the plugins and Graph connectors. We will go now into the Copilot Studio to talk about Copilot Studio specifically and what's possible there. And I will hand over to Nin. Off you go.
Perfect. Thanks, Anton. So now we go into Copilot Studio. And before we sort of deep dive into Copilot Studio, I just want to make you aware of what Copilot Studio essentially is. So as we know, Power Virtual Agents, which is a Power Platform component, this has now been rebranded to Copilot Studio. Now, this does mark a significant evolution in sort of the conversational AI field, as well as the transition and rebrand not only reflects the name, but also it has a substantial enhancement in capabilities of what Power Virtual Agents previously was. So now Copilot Studio, eventually, it represents the integration of Gen AI and enabling chatbots to essentially deliver more natural and context-aware bot, and it can also create more personalized responses to end users as well. So it essentially leaps forward from more rule-based interactions and manually authored topics to more dynamic conversations that can adapt to user input and also learn over time. So now with Copilot Studio, businesses now can connect Copilot to your data, whether it's with pre-built or custom plugins, orchestrating sort of workflows, and also managing AI companions, all within a central repository as well. Now, just to sort of reiterate on Copilot Studio itself, it is a platform to build your very own Copilots in a single pane of glass. So whether that's managing topics, actions, Gen AI sources of where you're plugging into, whether it's external sites or internal sites, and also plugins, it's that one place that you can come to build your Copilots. So here you can build, publish, and also create custom Copilots for your organization. It also has more intuitive building experiences through sort of more enhanced with large language models and generative AI. You can also customize Microsoft Copilot. So as Anton said previously, so you can extend and customize your first-party Microsoft Copilots with any of your more enterprise scenarios as well. It also has a more connected platform. So you can integrate with Microsoft's conversational AI technology stack. So whether that's Azure AI Studio, Azure Cognitive Services, Bot Framework, and many more connectors as well. And again, as I mentioned before, you can manage all of your Copilot experiences, all of the Copilots you build within one platform. So you have a lot more governance, control, and you can monitor all sort of usage of your Copilot. So whether that's analytics for engagement, different messages, the amount of message consumption that the Copilots are doing, that's all managed through Copilot Studio itself in a single platform. Now, when I talk about Copilot Studio, this is a tool, whether you're playing, you're building an internal custom Copilot or external, where it can be more customer facing, or even to extend out M365 Copilot using plugins and actions. This is a platform to do all of that, all within one. So now, just to hone in on a few capabilities that Copilot Studio brings. On the left-hand side of the screen, you've got sort of world-class UX. So it's a really user-friendly interface that's easy to use. And in addition to Power Virtual Agents, it also now has added capability to use natural language to build and modify your bots. So when you're building topics, you can use Copilot as essentially to help you craft exactly what you need within that platform itself. It also has logic and automation, so you can build with low code, no code. So building your Copilot really has never been easier. It also seamlessly integrates with Power Platform and custom Azure skills as well. So you can customize your Copilot to be as simple or as complex as you need. It also has next-gen AI, so this is also included with pre-built large language models within Copilot Studio. Also, the feature of building with Gen AI, so essentially suggesting a more appropriate next steps or responses. Also providing a more of a connected experience, so it can connect to all things Microsoft and also third-party connectors to bring more of a seamless experience so that you can connect end users to all of their business applications, processes that they're working with day to day. It also supports an end-to-end Copilot lifecycle. So here, within the Copilot Studio interface, so from building and testing your topics within that screen to co-authoring with your colleagues to even application lifecycle management automation as well. It also has a world-class built-in security and governance platform to manage aspects such as authentication, identity management, and providing full visibility across the stacks and all of the Copilots that are being built within your tenant. Now, just to show you a few of the capabilities that Copilot Studio offers, and after this slide, I will also be showing you a bit of a demo into how easy it is to build your own Copilot. So starting with being able to chat your Copilot with generative AI. So you can plug in websites, so whether that's being external public sites or internal OneDrive and SharePoint sites, or even Azure AI services, you can plug that into Copilot Studio and it can respond with generative AI based on your data sources. So that's just an option to, I guess, spread out and plug any sort of sources within it. But you can actually also create more specific created topics as well. So you can, based on a few specific triggers, you can bounce off some actions or hone into more specific sources, for example, policies. You can also do that as well. And then you've got your actions and plugins. So you can create actions and plugins to third-party systems within Copilot Studio and also dynamically chain them. So based on a user input or response, Copilot can recognize what type of action or plugin that it needs to respond with afterwards as well. You can also publish your Copilot to multiple channels, as Anton mentioned as well, without tweaking anymore. So you can build one Copilot and essentially publish that into whether it's M365 Copilot or within Teams or through a custom website. You can publish all of that within Copilot Studio itself. And then once that's published, you can continuously monitor the Copilots through an out-of-the-box analytics, which is built into Copilot Studio as well. Great. So now I just wanted to spend a few minutes to walk through a bit of a demo into how easy it is essentially to build your very own Copilot. Now, here is the Copilot Studio interface, and I can click on Create a Copilot. And for this specific use case that I'm walking through, I'm going to be using the Microsoft Learn website as a source. So here, I've just named my bot as Microsoft Learn bot, and I've just added in a site that is going to be created as a data source for my Copilot. It just takes a minute to set up the Copilot. And then here it is, it's completed my bot here, and I've got the option here to just to validate that the generative AI source has gone through. And you can see here the site that I've added as a public site, which is automatically feeding that data through. And also you can boost your conversation with Gen AI to make sure that the content is being the content moderation is as accurate as can be. So here you've got a few options here, but I would recommend using sort of the default option of less answers, but the content being more accurate. Now, here I can create my topic, and I've got an option here to create from blank or create with a description for Copilot. Now, this is the generative building element of Copilot, so I can describe a little bit more about what I want this topic to be. So here I want I want to use the users to learn a bit more about Copilot Studio itself and the capabilities of it. So I can just add that in, and then it takes a minute, and it will essentially create my topic for me. So I can also edit it even further with Copilot by adding in some additional prompts. But for this case, I just want to review what's being added as my triggers. So here you can see that there's some pre-populated phrases of when this specific topic will be triggered. So you can see that there's lots of triggers there, and I'd recommend using 5 to 10 triggers as phrases, as well as with Copilot. It learns more as the more triggers that you have. It just learns more about the context that you're trying, the users is trying to do as well. So now I've deleted the sort of previous action here, and then I've got a few options of whether I want to call actions, send any messages, follow-ups as well. But in this case, I want to select the option of creating generative AI answers. Now, this recognizes the input of what the user has added within the Copilot response. And I've added my public website in as Learn Microsoft. That's done, so I'm happy with that as the generative answer, and I can save this answer here as well. Now, just to show you an example, this is just an example of me creating a topic, but I want to show you how great the generative AI element is within Copilot Studio. So although I've created this topic, I want to turn it off just to show you that I don't even need to set up any topics. Now that I've plugged in a site, Copilot Studio will recognize my prompt. So here I'm just testing out the prompt here. So what is Copilot Studio? It's given me a response already, and it also gives me a source. So I can follow that link here and see that actually it's not just generated content out of nowhere. It's got a source that I can perhaps read more into just to validate the answer. So I can do that and read that response further if I needed to. Now, if I'm happy with that, I can publish this Copilot, and then here I can configure the channel that I want to publish this Copilot in. So for in this case, I'm publishing to Microsoft Teams. So once I'm happy with that, that's published to Teams. Perfect. So that's all done. So that's just is a bit of a quick stop into how easy it is to create your very own Copilot and essentially plug in a source and using generative answers to boost that conversation. I don't even need to do any sort of additional configuration there. It recognizes my data source and uses it as the perfect response. Perfect. Now, if I move on to the generative AI features that has now been introduced with Copilot Studio, a few of which I have gone through in the demo here as well. So first of all is the scenario that I just mentioned about generative answers. So Copilot Studio can dynamically generate answers based on an organization's content. So whether that be, so the different sources that you can plug into Copilot Studio could be external websites, as I showed you previously on Microsoft Learn, or you can also use this as an internal source. So you can plug in to your internal SharePoint sites, OneDrive, and also Azure OpenAI services. So if you have those existing data sources, you can plug them in as a source for Copilot Studio. And then the second one is also generative actions. So you can essentially, Copilot Studio can recognize the appropriate action that's required by the bot itself by based on the user prompt and dynamically chain the existing actions and plugins which is configured on the Copilot. So this is a scenario that Anton showed you previously about sort of you can type in a prompt within M365 Copilot, and it recognizes the prompt that you're trying, the action that you're trying to essentially start without having to give it any more sort of prompts as well. And then finally, you've got generative building. So Copilot Studio is essentially gives you a Copilot assistant when you're building your Copilots as well. So it can help you build, design, and modify your topics based on through natural language. So an example of this was one that I showed you previously, where I can create with Copilot, add a little bit of a description, and it helps me create a topic and also extend and modify that topic even further by using some prompts. Now, I just wanted to show you quickly about the differences between chatbots and now with Copilot Studio as well. So I guess just to quickly run through this, in a sort of a standard chatbot before Copilot Studio, these are typically quite normally text-based, and it's very limited to pre-built topics, and it makes it a lot more intuitive and adds a lot more effort to create some of these topics as well. They also embedded within sites, but they're siloed within their configured destination. Now, with the introduction of Copilot, it can also has more of a natural and multimodal interface, so it can support more than just text formats. You can work with multiple data sources, whether this is internal or external, with very minimal configuration required. So again, this can be based on your requirements and exactly what you need. It also has generative content capability as well, so that it can enhance that contextual awareness of topics and the user's need to get a resolution much quicker without that a lot more effort or investment into the chatbot itself. And also finally, responsiveness and adaptability. So being able to detect that user context and providing that appropriate response as well. Now, just to walk through quickly on the licensing perspective. So Copilot Studio is a separate license from the M365 Copilot that many of you are already aware of. Now, Copilot Studio licensing works with $200 each month, and this is not per user, this is per tenant, and you can sort of assign as many Copilot Studio admins as you need. So these will be essentially your builders, but it is costed per tenant. And the licensing cost also covers 25,000 messages to the Copilot bot monthly as well. So when we talk about messages, what does that mean? So a message, so this is a regular message. So for example, if a user asks a Copilot a question, there's a pre-configured topic, then that would count as one message. However, if there is generative AI involved within the answer itself, that counts as two messages. So I just wanted to quickly highlight the licensing perspective as well of Copilot Studio itself. Now we can move on to the final part of the session, which is the fun part, which is the use cases that we've built with Copilot Studio as well. Now, the first use case that I wanted to mention is called PM Assist. So now PM Assist is ultimately your project management sidekick. So if you want to kick off a project, you can come to PM Assist to help you with a few different aspects to help with that project kickoff. So for example, if you need to find a meeting time that works for everyone within your project team, or you need help to coordinate and create some project tasks, PM Assist can help you with this case. Now, for PM Assist, before we go into the specific use case itself, I just wanted to take a minute to run through the essentially behind the scenes of PM Assist and how this was built, so that you can have a little bit more contextual awareness into how the prompts are being stored. So just to show you the PM Assist bot. So here, this is already built. So you've got your PM Assist bot. I can go into my topics and let's use the project kickoff topic as an example. So I can click on project kickoff, and you can see that this topic gets triggered with a few different types of phrases. So for example, I want to kick off a project. If I type that in as a user into the response, it will start to kick off this this topic. I may have to authenticate if I haven't used this bot for a while, and it begins by asking me a few different questions to kick off that project itself. So what would I like to do? So here you can select whether I want to schedule a kickoff meeting or some tasks. For this case, the user has selected the condition to kick off a meeting. So the user can type in their project name and the project team members that there are across their project, and their responses are saved as variables within the chatbot itself. And then this actually triggers a Power Automate flow to run with the various triggers that and variables that the users has responded to. Now, these gets passed over to the Power Automate, and essentially it runs, it finds that meeting time that works for everyone, and then it gives me a message to say it's been created. Now, if I wanted to it also asks me at the end, are you finished with your task? Is there anything else that you want to do? And then here, I can say, actually, I want to create some tasks for this project as a natural next step. And then if users said, yes, I'd like to set up some tasks, this now redirects them to another topic called project tasks. Now, let's see this in action, shall we? Perfect. So I can kick off the bot by saying hi, and it tells me a little bit about their actions that the PM Assist bot can help me with. I can tell them that I want to kick off a project, select kick off a project, type my project name in, which is Project Echo for this case, and then telling the Copilot as well about who my project members are that I need in my kickoff meeting. Now, you can see it sort of configures it quite quick, but as I sped this up slightly, however, this has all been sort of stored and it's configured that Power Automate flow within the backend as well. And And now I also want to set up some tasks. I can tell Copilot the name of the task that I want and also the due date of it, and it starts to create these tasks for me within tasks by planner. So I'm done with that task. It asks me if I want to add any more tasks. I say yes. I can add some more tasks, and that's complete. So once I'm happy with that, it can add my tasks within Task My Planner. Now, these should be set up in the back end just to validate. Oh, I don't know if I think my video is slightly sped up a little bit, but here you can see that I'm validating the tasks, which are now added within the Task by Planner. And then you've got your HR bot. So you've got your virtual HR assistant. And this is essentially an example of where I've plugged in an internal website that has all the content that I need as a source. And it tells me that I can answer questions on policies and guidelines, and essentially advocating more of a self-service option for end users for things like HR policies and processes. And then I'll just spend a quick minute just to run through an example of this HR bot. So here you can see that the HR bot is being triggered, and I can ask it a question. So for example, what is the UK maternity policy? And it goes through the data source to understand actually, here is the UK maternity policy. And it can give me all of the answers that are configured on that source site itself. So here it tells me all of the UK policy, and you can see that it has some references into the source of where this content is coming from, so that again I can go in and validate the content that the bot is giving me. So here you've also got your holiday policy as well, which can use a generative answer for the holiday policy itself. So again, here you go. It's using that content from SharePoint itself to give me that content. Now, I think I can pass back over to Anton to talk about the team concierge use case.
Thanks, Lynn. Okay, let's take one step forward. So what we discussed previously, Copilot for M365 or the Ask HR, and I think we can have a legal advisor doing the same thing. They all wear your personal assistants, right? Whether it's M365 Copilot or whether it's a bot, but we all love collaborative work. We're rooting for collaborative work because we know that, okay, the team may be very dynamic and changing, and then when you working together, you create more not just connection, but you have much more insights on the same topics. Someone may go on holiday, but everyone else will still have access to all the conversations and all the documents. So therefore, teamwork is really important. So the team concierge bot was developed actually to work in a team in the channel. It may also work in a group, but the team is the best place. So what you're able to do this in this specific case, first of all, yes, you can ask the same questions about the information in the documents, but you can ask questions about the documents which are stored specifically in this team, right? So not just generic knowledge, not documents from just static ring-fenced set of documents as we've seen for HR, but the documents which are relevant to your team. Then also it will have context and access to the conversations in your team and actually to the roster of the team. It will know who is in the team. It will know who is away, who is on holiday, for example. And it also will have access to the messages in a thread. So, for example, you will be able to say, hey, can you add this into CRM? Can you summarize this conversation, put this into CRM? or can you summarize Hibis feedback into lessons learned, right? So and this is just a very quick example, which we were trying to keep generic, but keep in mind it could be specific to you in some cases. So here we have our team, we have our sales opportunities channel, and we have this conversation. So you would know that the conversation was Fabricam, internet replatforming, and I'm saying, hey, yes, they asked for RFP, and I'm having a conversation with Liz, and I'm having a conversation with Julian, and I'm asking Team Concierge, can you just put it into CRM? And then based on my instructions behind the scenes, it summarized the thread. It creates a record in CRM, and other than summary, it's actually providing the actions, identified actions. And then second part is what we've seen previously. You can again ask about the documents. No, you can ask the question about something based on documents in your team. So the same example of maternity policy, which we have seen previously in the chatbot, but in this case, those documents are relevant to this team specifically. As well, it shows the reference to the file. And if you click on it, it will open this file as a new tab, or it will open the file in a new in the browser. So again, just to sparkle imagination, you can do a lot of cool stuff with Bot when it has this team context. And there are just few other examples just to think about them in the last 3 minutes of our webinar. So yes, you can not just develop a custom bot, but you can also think about things. Okay, you can redact information and present it in a specific way for huge reports. We know that the well-structured prompts are crucial, but you cannot always ask employees to create a huge prompt or copy-paste it from prompt body. You can encapsulate this prompt as a prompt plugin and just trigger this with a very simple prompt. For example, if you say summarize a sales report, behind the scenes, it could be very robust prompt. Your small prompt will trigger a robust prompt, which will actually do something very specific. You can summarize latest updates from ServiceNow or from HR systems. You can make suggestions in the context of a conversation based on previously captured lessons learned. You can scaffold projects based on existing templates and existing documentation, pull it via search, and then say create project in 3 systems. You can update inventory management systems based on status, and then upload related images and documents. So few cases here, which again, you can think about them when you're thinking about the extensibility. So thanks, everyone. It concludes our webinar. We had a few questions in the chat. We should try to answer. So for iManage, I wasn't able to Google for a specific connector, but it does support OAuth 2, which means that you can build the graph connector most likely very easily. But then, it's always a good idea to go and ask your account manager. If you point Copilot Studio to a SharePoint site, will it use the content of documents on the site for its data? Yes, if you use the generic answers, or you just create your Copilot based off the SharePoint site, it will use the content of the documents for its answers. Okay, great. I don't see any other questions. We have 2 minutes left, so thanks everyone for joining. If you still have any questions, reach out to us. This is, by the way, again, our emails. If you want to capture this, take a photo, drop us a note, ask specific questions. We always happy to give an advice. And we have our flagship event, Fall in Love. This time it's Fall in Love with M365 Copilot. On 8th of May. So scan the QR code, and if you happen to be in London, you're very welcome. So thanks everyone for joining, and have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks everyone.